everyone, it's Emma. So today I'm doing my very first Top 5 Wednesdays, and the topic for this week is most misleading synopses. Top 5 Wednesday is led by Thoughts on Tomes, who is one of my favorite booktubers, and I will link her channel along with the Goodreads group down below if you want any information on that. So I'm just gonna get right into it because, you know, I have this thing about descriptions of books. I basically don't read them anymore because they piss me off, to be honest. The first one that I want to talk about is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. This synopsis, it's not that it's necessarily bad plot-wise. After reading the book, then reading the back of the book, it doesn't sound like the character. On the back it says, "No one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal, but the re-establishment has plans for her. Plans to use her as a weapon, but Juliet has plans of her own. After a lifetime without freedom, she's finally discovering a strength to fight back for the very first time and to find a future with the one boy who she thought she'd lost forever." If you've read this book, you know that Juliet does not want to fight back really in this first book. Her character develops a lot over this series. Juliet was really frustrating in this book because she wasn't like going out trying to fight back. It doesn't sound accurate to the character. Although plot-wise, technically it's okay, it doesn't sound like Juliet's character, and I don't like that. The next one that I want to talk about is Kiss of Deception by Marie E. Pearson. Again, it's not that plot-wise the back synopsis is really bad. It just makes it sound a lot lighter and less interesting. I had heard a lot of hype about this series, so I looked into it a couple times and read the synopsis and was like, I don't know if I really want to read that. And then a long time later, I finally picked it up and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so entertaining. On the back, it just makes it sound like it's about this girl who flees on her wedding day, and then when she's in disguise in this town, she meets two handsome strangers and there's some type of love triangle, which, yes, that's true, but one of the things I loved about this series is Leah's character and how fiery she is, and that at first she's kind of like, I don't need these guys. The back makes it sound like it's all about the guys. So I don't like that. It doesn't make me want to read the book. After reading the book, it sounds fine, but before reading the book, it sounds like a romance novel. These books are really funny. There's kind of a love triangle, and she flees on her wedding day, and it sounds a little bit like a trope, but the back does not make me want to read it, and I liked reading this. I want to talk about more of a general thing because for most of my life, it has frustrated me that when I go into a bookstore and pick up any classic book, the back tells me nothing about the story. It just talks about the book's reputation or the author's reputation or its success or what people think about it now or how it's lasted all this time. I already know that. Like, I know Wuthering Heights and A Tale of Two Cities and all the Jane Austen books. I know those are famous books. I want to get an actual idea of what the book is about if I go into a bookstore and pick up a classic. One example of this is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. On the back of this one, it talks about Sydney Carton, and to be honest, I think there's this huge spoiler on the back, which that is a whole nother rant. Often synopsis spoil things that I don't want to know, which is why I stopped reading them. Now, at the bottom, it does say, a masterful pageant of idealism, love, and adventure in a Paris bursting with revolutionary frenzy and a London alive with anxious anticipation. A Tale of Two Cities is one of Dickens' most energetic and exciting works. But I already know that this takes place during the French Revolution because of its reputation, and I already know who Charles Dickens is. What I would like to find on the back of classics, something about the characters, something about Lucy Manette, something about her father, or Charles Darnay, or Sydney Carton. Like, yes, it talks about Sydney Carton, but Sydney isn't actually, like, Sydney is a big part of the book in what you feel. I loved Sydney's character, basically because he's Will Herondale. He's not the main character in the sense of you don't see the most of him. You see the most of Lucy and her father. And it doesn't say anything about them on the back. I would really like to see classics that have more normal synopsis on the back, as if it was just any other book. I wish there was a little description of what it's about because, again, I already know its reputation. I already know how famous they are, but I would like to get an idea of whether I want to actually read this story or not, and the backs almost never do that, ever. The next one that I want to talk about, I don't have in book form, so I'm not positive that this is what's on the back of the book, but this is what I read, and it turned me off to the series for a long time, and then when I finally read it, I was so mad that I had not read this series for so long, because now it's become one of my favorites, and that is the All for the Game series by Nora Sakovic. The first book is The Foxhole Court, and that's the one that I read the description for. I'm just going to read it to you. This is from Amazon. It says, Neil Jostin is the newest addition to the Palmetto State University Exie team. He's short, he's fast, he's got a ton of potential, and he's the runaway son of the murderous crime lord known as the Butcher. Signing a contract with the PSU Foxes is the last thing a guy like Neil should do. The team is high profile, and he doesn't need sports crews broadcasting pictures of his face around the nation. His lies will hold up only so long under this kind of scrutiny, blah blah blah. Basically, it mentioned sports multiple times, and I was like, I don't care all that much about sports. Like, yeah, I'll watch sports in person or like go to a friend's game or something, but here's the thing about these books. Technically, it is about a sports team, but really, it's super, super character driven. The books are all about the people on the sports team, which is why I loved them. I even loved all of the scenes of all of their matches and whatnot. That description, talking so much about the Exy team and signing a contract, and they used too many technical terms, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And so I didn't read it for so long. I kept hearing that it was like the Raven Boys, and then I kept reading the description, basically seeing sports, and not reading the books. If you are like me and you read the description and you were like, yeah, I don't care that much about sports, ignore that and just go read the books. The last book that I want to talk about, same thing as the Foxhole Court. I had heard a lot about these books, and I kept picking it up and reading the description in different bookstores and stuff. Every time I was like, this sounds like a romance book. I'm not that into romance books. I don't know if I want to read this. And that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. These books are not about romance. These are like the least romancy YA books ever. In terms of like actual relationships, nobody gets together until like the last book. For as long as she can remember, Blue has been warned that she will cause her true love to die. She doesn't believe in true love and never thought this would be a problem, but as her life becomes caught up in the strange, sinister world of the Raven Boys, she's not so sure anymore. This synopsis communicates absolutely nothing to me about these books. It captures none of the character of these books, and these books are chock full of quirkiness, and like these characters are so wonderful and I love them so much. On the back, it's like bland oatmeal. I'm mad because this is like my favorite series ever, probably. I try not to say ever because I have a lot of favorite series ever. I put off reading it for a long time because of this synopsis, and I'm mad about it. So Maggie Stiefvater addressed this on her Tumblr. Somebody sent her an ask saying that the synopsis for The Raven Boys sucks, and she wrote her own, and I'm gonna read it for you guys because it's magnificent. A host of codependent teens with a battery of psychological issues comb rural Virginia for a dead Welsh king with dubious magical powers. Trees talk, hitmen put down roots, dead people live, living people die, cars are described in loving detail. I'm not gonna say the next word because it's a cuss word. A house full of psychics tells everybody the future and drinks a lot on page considering it's a young adult series. Nobody kisses anybody, which is weird because everybody loves everybody. There's rich boys, poor boys, sad boys, angry boys, Raven Boys, collect them all. That captures the quirkiness, wonderful nature of this book, not what it says on the back here. Oh, I wish that was on the back because it makes me laugh every time I read it. So those are my top 5 misleading synopses. Comment down below some synopses that were misleading for you, like ones that you read it and then didn't read the book for a long time, then picked up the book and loved it, or vice versa. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. I'm Miss Emma Reads a Lot on Instagram and Tumblr. If you want to check out my social media, I'll leave all the links down below as always. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon with a new video.